New Times in Rwanda. Kagame attends Macky Sall's inauguration, and you can see a related picture here. There you go. Also, UN Tribunal survivors seek new beginnings. This is another story that you want to follow on page 2 of the New Times if you're waking up in Rwanda this morning. The Wall Street Journal is holding this. This is the letters that we do have here. Of course, the time zones, or the time zone notwithstanding, and you can see assailant pleads guilty to lesser charge in death of Kim's kin. You remember Kim Jong-un's brother who was killed. This is a culprit there. That is Doan Thi Huong, accused of assassinating the half-brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Pleaded guilty in Malaysian court to a reduced charge of causing hurt with a dangerous weapon, making her the only person to be sentenced in the case. This story is tucked away on page 7 of the Wall Street Journal. Also, Aramco's profits dwarfs all others is another story you can follow. Factories pick up calming investors in US is another story tucked away also inside the Wall Street Journal as well. Allow me to show you also briefly what we do have this month on the front page of the Nairobi Law Monthly and also the East African as well, just to give us a snippet of what we are looking at this week on the front page of the East African. A game of wits, a flurry of presidents. Suddenly they are meeting and making the right diplomatic noises, but there is still deep unease. This is a story that you can follow inside this week's edition of the East African. And also CBK window boosts top banks profits is another story that you want to follow on the front page of the East African this morning as well. Let's see what we have also on the front page of the Nairobi Law Monthly. And this is how it looks if you've not grabbed your copy. Securing the dynasties. That is what it is talking about. Nairobi Law Monthly, shaking the handshake. All right, also inside, one more Supreme Court judge to be fired, JSC reveals, and a short history of the Mount Kenya Mafia as seen and told by the CIA is another story you can follow inside the Nairobi Law Monthly. And also, we do have the Nairobi Business Monthly as well. This is how it looks. If you've not grabbed your copy, buckled up, Africa, the West is going green. Buckle up, Africa, the West is going green. As the rich world gets greener, Africa will get dirtier. And you can see a related picture there on the front page of the Nairobi Business Monthly. Editorial cartoons are up next. Let's see what they do hold for us. This is what has been drawn by Gado today inside the Standard. And it's all about the xenophobia in South Africa. South Africa celebrates 25 years since the end of apartheid. But look at what is happening on the ground. We have South Africa is not, of course, looking at the placards there, is not Africa. We have monkeys, go home, and Wakwere Kwere, go home as well. Of course, the chaos and the xenophobia, you can see the recent pictures or videos that have been doing rounds in the social media. This is what has been aptly captured by Gado inside the Standard this morning. Also, I want to show you what we do have inside the Daily Nation according to Munene, and this is what is drawn for us. The Big Four agenda. We can see what is talking the Big Four agenda is all about politics, 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 politics everywhere. So are we moving the needle a jot as far as the Big Four agenda is concerned, or we embroil in politics as far as the Big Four agenda is concerned? This is what has been drawn by, that is Munene inside the Daily Nation today. I just want to pick up also what Stano has drawn for us today. And this is what you're waking up to today in the People Daily. And it's all about the betting companies and KRA as well. Right? I leave it for you to decipher that. It's drawn by Stano. Those are your dailies today. Make sure you grab a copy of any paper that really floats your boat. But for now, we swing for the fences by looking at the highlights. Taking the roll call, the fears and controversies as government's ambitious project gets rolling. Algerian leader Bouteflika hands over resignation letter. And UK Prime Minister May says she will ask for a further Brexit delay. Hello, good morning. President Uhuru Kenyatta says Kenya will save billions of shillings once the Huduma Number is fully implemented in the country. Speaking when he was launching the National Integrated Information Management System, NIMS, in Machakos County. The president said last month alone, the country saved approximately 150 million shillings after systems management was carried out in the public service. The president has called upon Kenyans and foreigners residing in Kenya to ignore those criticizing the registration exercise, saying the benefits are massive and that all measures will be in place to ensure data and information shared is safe.
AP tulipata 1048 ambao kila mwezi walikuwa wanalipa mshahara, lakini hakuna mtu anaonekana. Ni namba tu kwa makaratasi. Kwa DCI tulipata 153. Hawa maofisa 5,000 ambao walikuwa wanalipwa kila mwezi, ya? Mshahara wa huyu mwezi umepita. Tumesave 148 million Kenya shillings. Wengine wameenda sijui ati ukienda kujiandikisha utatoa damu, sijui uwekwe, sijui DNA testing. Ati mzee anaambiwa ukienda kujiandikisha, sasa kama wewe uko na mpango ya kando, mtoto atajua baba yake ni nani. Sasa taabu. Nakwambia upuzi ambao uko Kenya ni mwingi sana.
Even in the motor vehicle registration, when police officers get you on the road with your Huduma number, we can tell whether you are the owner of the vehicle, whether it's genuine and the registration is genuine.
And this is actually, of course, bigger when it comes to security issues. And we know today is Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we get to talk about security matters. So what does this portend as far as security is concerned? And of course, we saw other NGOs or civil societies also moving, all the civil society moving to courts to challenge the NIMS, which was overruled by the courts. Allow me to introduce to you this morning, if you're joining us, I had actually done this at the top of the hour, but we're holding court this morning with Ambassador Erastus Mwencha, who is the chairman of African Capacity Building Foundation, also the chairman of Trademark East Africa, and the former deputy chair of the African Union. We do have with us also Dr. Hassan Khanenje. Hassan Khanenje is the director of at the Horn Institute, and we do have with us as well Dr. Mustafa Yusuf Ali, who is a conflict, peace and resolution expert and also a national security commentator. And we're joining, or we're getting this morning on the panel. This is Dr. Tusay Mahurule, who is a lecturer at the Hekima College. This is the Institute of Peace and International Relations. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good
morning. Right, we can see this has been rolled out despite the fact that, yes, there was a challenge in court, but the courts overruled that. But when it comes to security and NIMS, where do we stand? Is it meant to really of course, move this country forward as far as security is concerned? Many people have been saying this is a duplication of functions that already, as we're discussing here also yesterday and before yesterday, that we have the integrated population registration service where we have all this data, of course, presiding. Why do we need another registration? Why do we need a Huduma number? Why can't we integrate all those, of course, numbers that we do have? Many of them, I think, close to 7 or 8, and, you know, come up with an integrated system instead of NIMS. Ambassador, briefly.
Debarl, the future is going to be about information technology and how we manage information. In fact, that's where the world is now talking about the big data,
yes,
and all that. And so we have to go this route. And there's no gainsaying in the fact that as we move forward, it is going to become more and more necessary for us to have one reference point of registration. I haven't seen the total outcome of how they're going to manage this registration, because obviously when you have to have electoral card, you have to have driver's license, you have to have national ID, a different passport number. All those can be very complicated to manage, and the people can get different IDs in different ways in all those areas. So having one identity reference number is important. But I think from where I sit, what I see is it was perhaps poorly managed in terms of PR exercise, getting to get the population to understand, and also get population participation. It was, and so there was this element, and of course there was an exaggeration of it from the NGOs and the rest, and what the president was talking about yesterday. But the need is there. It's, I think, a question, the process that perhaps was not right.
All right, poor communications from the government, the need is there, but the PR was what actually was missing. Good public relations. Let's hear from Dr. Mustafa.
Yeah, Debarl, I concur with Ambassador Mwenche that the way Huduma Number was introduced to the public was actually, it wasn't sufficiently done and done well. What started actually was a issue, in fact, when I heard it first, was the issue of the DNA being collected and, you know, all that. And that was not about it. Down the line, yes, the government can collect DNA based on the act that was passed. But this is actually a very simplified way of managing populations, managing data, having everything in one place. Right now, I think there are 7, 8 different data sets. And to have what would normally be referred to as a metadata of its citizens, I think this is it, Huduma. And Debarl, this Huduma thing is going to nail fraudsters. And there are many fraudsters in Kenya. I think President of the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, just, you know, mentioned and shared about the almost 150 million Kenya shillings lost monthly to ghost policemen. And this hasn't even gone to the other arms or other security agencies and other, you know, when that will get into the counties, and then you'll then understand what the magnitude of the problem.
Right.
And for some reasons, we have perfected the act of, Kenyans have perfected the act of fraud. We have overtaken certain countries that are known for that. And perhaps the Huduma Number will cure that or reduce fraud in this country.
Right. Have we really jumped the gun as far as data protection is concerned when it comes to security matters? So that, we know the bill has not has sailed through as yet, and yet we've gone full steam ahead and launched this. This was also, I think, the biggest issue with you know, the civil societies, that yes, we don't have data protection. Why should we go full steam ahead and launch things?
Debarl, good morning.
Good morning to you.
You know, the only person who will be opposed to efficiency, and especially in the light of technological developments, is the one who is lazy, incompetent, or he is a thief. Because they think by introducing a system such as that one, they're probably not going to profit. Now, if we are to model this system along, for instance, the American Social Security number, they have one number that pretty much contains all the information. That is part of the reason they are able to manage very effectively and very well. They know where you are, they know what you do, even though they have a population of more than 320 million people. It's been extremely effective. Today, your passport, of course, has a different number. Your driver's license has a different number. Your ID has a different number. You have 1 million numbers. How about we actually just have one number that has a lot of information, or at least all the information, if possible, is going to allow us to track people, to trace their development, including when it comes to dealing with fraudsters or elements that are involved in terrorism against our country or subversion. Now, of course, it is true perhaps it wasn't very well communicated to the Kenyan public, and it's yet to sink, and hopefully someone is going to do a better job doing that. But this is going to be important. Now, the concern that arises in such circumstances, however, is how are we going to make sure that we protect this information? Because when you have all the information on one number, such as Social Security number, we need to be able to have a system where people are not going to steal people's information and exploit them, use them, or sell them for profit. So to me, that will be my only concern. However, with regard to where we should be going as a country, it's actually about time we did that.
It's about time.
Yeah.
Right. Let's hear from Dr. Touche.
Good morning, Debarl.
Good morning to you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you. Actually, I think I will concur with you know, what my colleagues have just said. the whole idea of having the comparison that was made with the social security number in the US, that is very effective. In the sense that it allows at least the system to be able to track and to have a history of the person who is applying maybe for public service and so on and so forth. But what I wanted actually to add on top of what has been said already is simply to say that human minds are very clever. By establishing this number, it is like initiating a new system in which you do not allow people or the mind of human beings to beat the system because you can duplicate maybe your jobs and do so many other things in terms of corruption. But as the president has just mentioned, the simple fact that you can track people and see that you have fake people, for instance, who are on the payroll list and who have been siphoning the public resources, that alone is an addition, a plus. So I think those who will be concerned with issues of security should maybe feel that they have something to hide. I'm not sure. I'm just putting that out. But at the same time, I hope it is also an opportunity for our own, judicial system to evolve to some extent, because the laws that we may have were not really crafted to fit the data, system. So it is an opportunity for us to begin to see how the society of the future needs to update its own, juridical system to some extent. So I think it is a good move. It's a good start, and the prospects, in terms of outcomes and returns should be, very good for everybody.
Thank you, thank you. Well, maybe the next story, before I actually read it out, we have this particular editorial cartoon that has been drawn by Stanon inside the People Daily. Maybe it can act as a segue to our next story. And this is all about the waiting companies and the revenue collection as far as revenue. Many of them, we're given to understand, they have not been remitting their, taxes. And there's always, the toing and froing on this. And they're saying that the Kenyan public, more so those that engage in betting, are divided on whether gambling in Kenya has gotten to unhealthy levels. The consensus appears to be that lack of meaningful employment contributes to the high rates of gaming. Let's listen from Charity Mwangi.
76% of our young people are involved in one form of betting or the other.
It is a sobering deduction, one that raises alarm among the Kenyan public, a generation drawn by the seeming availability of easy cash that unknowingly leads to losses.
Juu nilikuwa na duka nikafundishwa na besta yako beti kitu ilisha yote.
Hii ni kitu huwa ina balance. Sia ukikuja hapo natarajia ushinde.
The betting shops are always flocked with hopeful, youthful gamers who graduated from betting on their phones and now chase the winning rush through live betting that takes them just 90 seconds to either win or lose.
One hour, naweza poteza airtime 10. Juu nacheza 90 seconds na ni cartoon. Si ati game unajua maniwa, unajua chess, unajua wako form. Hiyo unaweza pata game period ya 10 imepigwa.
But once in a while, a more mature gamer walks in and shatters the notion that betting is the preserve of the young and inexperienced.
At least I must have something to do, so I relax on betting.
The retired University of Nairobi employee boasts of a prosperous career and only visits the betting shops as an innocent pastime that earns him some money more often than not.
I build myself gradually. Naenda nyumbani Nyeri, I go home to Nyeri, nayaka nanua mawe kidogo. Naenda food yaendelea. Because sooner or later I'll leave Nairobi.
Winning like losing happens by chance, and the feeling of these players are dictated by either the wins or the losses that they have been able to register. Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i slammed by gamers like Gadongo, who feel he does not appreciate their situation.
Leave Matiang'i alone. Matiang'i is a millionaire. or rather a billionaire. He should not intervene. How much does the government get from tax?
The issue of taxes being one that has been greatly discussed and one that will continue to raise great debate in the gaming sector.
It's a high time that control, regulation and proper policy was put in place.
To them, it is a money-making venture, one that has been overly politicized. They stand by one mantra: life is a risk, and so is gambling. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
Question is, where does also the issue of unemployment push Kenyans to? Kenya is also in the spotlight for academic dishonesty, owing to academic and essay writings services that have now become quite common in the country. A report in Britain has highlighted how common the practice of procuring these services has become among European students, with Kenya at the center of countries where such services are offered. Let's listen also from Edmund Nyabola, our reporter.
Signage and posters strategically placed in various parts of the capital, advertising academic writing services of term papers and dissertations for undergraduate and postgraduate students, services that have now gained Kenya global notoriety. British tabloid Daily Mail has it that Kenya is one of the countries where academic dishonesty is rampant. A senior fellow at the Imperial College London refers to Kenya as the hotbed where all the writing happens. There is high unemployment and working from home is coveted. There are thousands of people in Kenya whose job is to write essays for cheating students. But the services are not only exported, they are also offered locally.
Particularly the Module 2 students, because they are busy. Poorly done assignment will show in the performance. First of all, the quality of communication and the grammar, the language that particular student uses will show.
None of the writers was available to speak to us, but our inquiries have established that a doctorate could fetch between 250,000 to 600,000 shillings, whereas a master's thesis pays between 30,000 and 100,000 shillings depending on the topic. The handsome rewards quite appealing for the proprietors.
It should be discouraged because it's creating laziness to students, and also I wouldn't subject those who are doing it, because some of them, through writing, doing dissertation, doing assignments for other people, that's how they pay their bills and they manage themselves outside there.
The Federation of Kenyan Employers has in the past complained of universities churning out half-baked graduates, but with no mechanism to test qualifications presented by students. Most of those who seek these services often get away with it.
The employers and the people who give jobs to try shift the attention from the papers, the grades, into what people can actually do. Like they should inquire more proof of how competitive people are.
The challenge in combating this flourishing business is compounded by the fact that there are no laws or regulations that actually prohibit it. Students and lecturers that we spoke to say it is upon the institutions of higher learning and by extension the Ministry of Education to come up with a legal framework to ensure that the papers that they actually grade are from their own students and not brains for hire. Edmund Nyabola, NTV, Nairobi.
All right, sir, what does the story of baiting really portend for this country as far as employment is concerned? And this now that has come to the fore on taxes, that we have the government and, the baiting, of course, company toeing and froing on this. And the issue of brain for hire, right? Many can attest to this particular fact, which is true, that many of university students, yes, some of them actually, they procure these services, and there are many agencies and consultancies, so to speak, that have come up as far as, doing or procuring these services are concerned. Of course, the theses and dissertations, we have academic or people from the academy that can tell us if this is true. Let's just listen from you, first of all, and also we're joined by Dr. Njoki Wamai from USAU. She's an assistant professor of international affairs and politics, and Dr. Touche from the academia as well. Also, Dr. Hassan Khanenja, all of you are from the academia. What is really, let's begin first of all with the betting story, and what does it portend for this country? Uganda so far has banned betting, in that country. So there's no, sports betting completely. President Yoweri Museveni took a stern action on this. And we had promissory notes coming from John Pombe Magufuli. We're eagerly waiting to see if he'll effect that. And people were saying Kenya should follow suit as well. And you can see there's people who are really expressing their frustration as far as employment is concerned. And this is a good avenue as a source of living for most of them. Let's just begin from there. If we have a country that, let's say, almost 30% of the young people are involved in betting, what does it portend for the future of the country? And also the spirit of hard work, because many people think, yeah, you can just strike, a jackpot. Maybe it will be your day. But what does it portend in terms of security, in terms of the future, in terms of the hard-working spirit of Kenyans, or for the young people for that matter? Dr. Tuse.
Debarl, I want to maybe begin from making just a kind of comparison, a kind of anecdote.
Yes.
Few years ago, I was visiting Toronto, and a friend of mine took me to the Niagara Falls.
Yes.
And all along, you have all the casinos and betting places. And as we entered, he asked me the question, what observation have you made? And of course, the population that was, there playing was old, and most of them were women. So as we discussed, we said, in statistics, usually women live longer, so these must be widows. But they inherited a lot of money that, with all the Western society, loneliness and so on and so forth. So they have money to bet, and they have plenty of time. Coming back to our own situation in Africa, when it is the youth especially, I think first of all we have to look at the whole culture where everybody believes they can become millionaire overnight. That could be maybe one of the results or the consequences of the neoliberal culture,
yes.
Where it is very individualistic and very creating these dreams in people's minds which are not really true. And the value of hard work, the value of patience, the value of, say, community is getting lost. So to address the issue of betting that is becoming an epidemic to some extent among the youth, questions we can ask: where are they getting the money to bet? Are they aware that betting really can become addictive, so that you get entangled in a situation that when you don't have the money to bet, you may even go to steal? So there are moral implications, there are social implications that the society needs to be aware of, and it's an industry that needs to be regulated really thoroughly. That's what I can say.
Fully, thoroughly regulated. And where is the money coming from? We had reports that most of them also, they get money from the fintech, mobile applications right now. You can actually just access loans from banks. And the Central the Credit Reference Bureau has actually blacklisted most of the young men because they're on loan defaulting. So actually they've been listed on that. So we can see it is money not from retirement, of course, but it's money that is borrowed to actually go for gambling. Dr. Hassan Khanenje.
What the type of betting especially, and Dr. Hussain did mention in the West, people who gamble, they are not, young people. If they're young, they're probably artists who make lots of millions, or boxers like Mayweather, so he can manage, can make $300 million in one night, and he can gamble 10. He win or lose, he's still perfectly fine. But here, one thing that the kind of betting we're seeing today, it has created a zombie society. Kids are extremely lazy, youngsters nowadays. And because they think they can become millionaires overnight. You cannot become a millionaire overnight unless you are either a thief or you're an entrepreneur, who, again, you're a thief because you're stealing from the public. And to the extent that we've allowed this thing to take root, we bet almost more per capita than Macau, for heaven's sake. We bet more per capita than Las Vegas. It's terrible. Because a lot of our young people who form the core part of our population, all of them, they have, first of all, to spend a lot of time watching Manchester United, watching all those teams. They're wasting a lot of time that they should be spending productively, so they can be able to bet properly in the hope of getting 3,000 shillings or 10,000 shillings, or perhaps getting $1 million, which will never happen, or at least there are higher chances of actually becoming a millionaire through betting, or rather there are higher chances of you being hit by a lightning than you getting a million shillings from betting, statistically speaking. But the thing is, as a country, we've seemed to encourage it and to tolerate this. Now, we also know that, of course, betting companies are very smart, and they're trying to do what we call, social welfare. You sponsor this, you sponsor that. Guys, listen to this. Out of every billion shillings they're going to make, probably in a few days or a few weeks, perhaps only 10 million, which actually they're going to use out there. And they're going to promote, if one person wins in Kakamega, they're going to talk about that person more than the 1 million who actually lost for the last 1 week. Okay, this thing, if it's not very strictly regulated, it should be entirely banned. We have some old casinos which are there. There are people with money who want to actually spend their money in betting, but we cannot allow this thing, which is an addiction. It's a disease. Once you do it over a certain period of time, it becomes a disease. You become addicted to it. These kids and these young people are not going to start seeking for jobs. They're not going to try and develop themselves. And we're going to lose out. Remember, this is the generation that's supposed to be paying our taxes tomorrow. Where is it going? And if the president is watching, and everybody else who's involved, especially in controlling this betting thing, this business, if it's not banned, should be strictly regulated, because it's a menace and it's a nuisance. Menace and a nuisance. And of course, we had the debate about the taxes. You remember when we had, the budget readings, and of course that was slashed, or it was increased significantly, and they really complained and bellyached about this. But now they're not even remitting the taxes in the first place. You talk about taxes. Where will you be getting the taxes, tomorrow, if our young generation is fully involved in betting right now?
Yeah, Debarl, first of all, this silly game of chance is destructive, is something that is taking many of our young people by way of addiction to become lazy and are not able to even look for jobs. Now, the statistics that are given there by Fred Matiang'i tells us the magnitude of the problem. Debarl. First of all, in terms of causation, I don't believe that it is because of lack of jobs that young people are betting. I think it's the other way around, that because of betting, many young people who should be spending their productive hours prefer to go and bet and think that they're going to get an easy million rather than hard work for it. All of us here come from one faith or the other. The Bible really warns us against betting. The Quran actually does not just warn, but it actually prohibits betting.
And gambling.
And gambling, yes. The government should ban this thing. Museveni knew what he was doing. Magufuli knew what he was doing. It should not even be regulated. It should just be banned outright, Debarl. I do not think gambling, betting, and helps this country. And even more so because today, before when you used to have the charity sweepstake, it was actually associated or tagged to the proceeds from that were actually, there was a whole authority on that, that is, the proceeds from the charity sweepstake was taken to sporting events, to build sporting events. But the proceeds from today's betting and gambling is actually used for other things other than sporting, for drinking, more gambling and things that is not even developing any of our nationals. The government has got to take a much more strong stand, and we support Fred Matiang'i in what he's doing.
All right. Well, let's hear from Ambassador Erastus Mwencha. Should this take a regional perspective, especially from the African Union? I think this is becoming a menace in the region as well. Maybe there should be a stand also that, or sort of a statement coming from the African Union. I don't know, you can help us understand on this.
Yes, you are spot on. In fact, to the contrary, I know of schemes to try and introduce a betting program for Africa where you can all bet and raise money, and those who sell it will say we raise it for revenue that can assist you in infrastructure development and all that. And that's the entry point normally they would use. because as my colleagues have rightly mentioned, these companies have two avenues. One is then the philanthropy, where they come and sponsor some village or some street kids, and so they look so good. The second one, of course, is revenue to government, and so they will always write a fat check indicating that they are giving government X millions of money, and so the government will look at them as really a good source of revenue. But behind that, they're destroying society. There is one aspect that my colleagues have kind of hinted to, but I want to bring out. One is the role of the media, particularly advertisement. You know, they only bring you the success stories. They go and bring somebody who has won 1 million shillings and gone and paid school fees, bought a cow, but they don't tell you a number of people who have lost. This is the role of the media in just hiding up the facts.
Yes.
And so I think that's one of the things that we should say, like as it was in the case of regulating things like smoking or beer, they should be banned and not even be allowed to bet. In fact, if you now tune on your TV or radio, you get more of these betting announcements all over the place, and all they are is wooing people to take them out. The second one, of course, then is the values we are setting as a society. Mustafa's rightly mentioned, the Bible condemns it, the Quran condemns it. So what values are we rejecting? It's because as a society we have set values where it shows that you can get rich through corrupt money, you get success, you can win, then become politically successful or business-wise. And so people don't see the value for hard work. And this is destroying the very fabric of the society. And in the end, you will find a society that believes in cheap money, stealing, and all that.
Right. But looking broadly, how does this also contribute to what was actually on the front page of the Standard on Monday? This is in regard ranking Kenya as, Kenya's new health disaster. And Kenya is number 6 on that list, according to the World Health Organization reports ranking Kenya as the 6th most depressed people in Africa. Criminologists link it to rising cases of suicide as well. And many cases we've had, of course, that has come to the fore, people who never won and they took their own lives because of betting. You know, yes. A good tide sum of money is stashed away to do that. Then when the expectation doesn't really, come as, to reality as what you're really expecting from it, you're left depressed. Dr. Njoki.
Yes, I think it's really, really sad about what's going on with depression in Kenya. But what I'm happy is that the conversation is now out here. We are talking about it. So many, especially in Africa, we don't talk about depression. And it's almost that the culture doesn't allow, if somebody's depressed, they say, oh, in Africa we don't get depressed. So we need to start talking about this and linking that to betting. And going back to what the ambassador said here, the culture, I think the capitalist culture that Kenya adopted right from the word go, it's almost now like a primitive, they say primitive accumulation of capital. And so even young people in Kenya, it's like America, die trying, or keep trying and die trying if you have to. And so even our culture, our ethos encourages making it big. If it's politicians, look how they earn so much money. You have, and there are all these cases, people in your neighborhood, an ordinary guy or an ordinary woman, and suddenly, 1 year they got a tender or they met who, and they're driving a big car, they move the estate, they buy a huge house. So as a young person, of course, even if all these people are telling you, oh, work hard, you only get there by gradual ways, you become confused because this guy, this your person who you are playing in the playground together, and they made it big. And so even for you, you'll be going out if you'll be waiting for that day and going to these gambling spaces, which are so many and unregulated, is one way. So for me, still, unemployment is a big deal until this country starts thinking seriously about its young people. Because we have a huge bulge. Many young people, very brilliant. And I'm quite, for me, this plagiarism report, it's saying we're exporting brains. I think as much as we're going to look at the negative side of dishonesty, it also tells us something. We have such brilliant, brilliant young people.
Yeah.
And I think we need to look at it first. Look, and I know many people actually who do this.
Right.
We're exporting our brains to some lazy British students who don't want to do their work. And
yeah.
As a government,
let's circle back with that because we need to take a short break right now. And of course, it's time to take a short break. When we circle back, we shall look at this particular new development as far as Brains for Hire is concerned. Many of the Kenyan minds are being hired by, of course, some of the students abroad, you know, to do their thesis and dissertation. And this is just highlighting what sort of rot that we do have as far as this is concerned. Even here in the country, many of the students, they're lazy. They don't want to do this, or maybe they don't have time, but they should have time if they've enrolled for universities. And of course, they procure these services. Right, before we take a short break, just one comment we have from Daniel Mercy. He says, it is awkward that you are having your panelists discuss about gambling. I think they have begged info about. Matiang'i's statistics are wrong, and the problem with betting is the BCLB, right? That is a board concerned with betting, and the government. Before 2015, we did not have this problem, and gambling existed. That is Daniel Mercy's opinion. Also, we have Matthias saying, what is better, betting or politicians who loot from its people? Acha mtu acheze pesa yake. This is what Matthias Schema is thinking about. Right, we take a short break right now. When we circle back, we continue with the discussion. Please join the conversation also on social media. Hit us on Twitter. Live NTV is our Twitter handle. Live NTV, our profile name on Facebook, and 20686, our SMS portal. Don't go away. guard, where we're keeping an eye on the enemy. And of course, we continue with the discussion on what we had teased out. This is the betting and now the brain for hire, where Kenyan students, or yes, most of the students abroad are involving Kenyans who have agencies or consultancies who can actually, you know, do for them the thesis and write for them the thesis and the dissertation as well. Let's listen from the academic world. But before we go there, there's a very interesting also perspective that was done. I think a survey on the betting and why some companies, especially the liquor companies, they found out their profits were going down the tubes. They wondered what was happening, especially with the betting. Did betting increase drinking, or did it reduce drinking in the country? And the result was that they found out that the biggest contributing factor to the contribution was betting, because most people were actually stashing away some cash and not buying a bottle of beer so that they could bet. So if, in fact, they thought that now if you have bettings in the pubs, then the number of beers being knocked back will really go up, but that was not really the case.
Debarl, this is what is happening. These guys, but betting is more addictive than alcohol, first of all. I think we need to agree to that. These guys now, because they don't have a lot of money, so what they do actually, they go and buy those cheap liquors and put them in the bottles. The pen list, it's like 20 bob, 50 bob. They drink that before they get into the bar, so that when they get into the bar, they just buy one bottle of Tusker. And they've saved a lot of money for betting. So they still drink more dangerous stuff, but they don't drink the legal stuff. So it just messes the whole thing actually even more. Yeah.
Right. I think, let's just finish up with that. Let's see from this issue of the brain for hire. And we had Dr. Njoki saying, of course, this is just attesting to the fact that we have good brains in this country. If many people can really tap from abroad, you know, to write their thesis and dissertation, it just goes to to show that we have good brains. But are we using this in a dishonest way?
I think maybe further to just...
First of all, no, not even just to talk, maybe to confirm from you.
Whether
is this happening from the universities?
Of course.
Here, it does.
Yes, yes, it's so rampant. I think one of the challenges any academic finds, not just in Kenya, in many countries around the world, you can see what's happening in Britain, which boasts some of the best universities, is plagiarism, academic dishonesty. And I think we need more robust ways of trying to catch also students who are plagiarizing. There's all manner of software to catch them, but I also think we academics are not being robust enough or doing our job to actually get these people. And the university needs to get serious about it. Like if somebody has plagiarized, they should be asked their grades should be reduced because, this is not your work, clearly. So we just need more strictness when we are doing that. It is very rampant, as I said, in Kenya. It is rampant not just in Kenya. You've seen in Britain. They're trying to, there's a lot of business in Kenya. And if you go online even right now, say you want to write an essay about terrorism or Brexit something or whatever that you're thinking of writing, and you just Google, there's actually, you'll see a whole line of essay writing companies. And they'll say this is academic essay writing companies. And you just need to pay and you get your essay. Yeah? So it's going to be hard. It's almost international. Probably even the internet regulators or content developers are the ones to also come in, because even if I could say, I don't want people to plagiarize, students will still go in if they want to be dishonest and get those essays and present to me as what looks like a good essay.
Thank you.
And if you look at those people who advertise, like if you see, there are all these spaces, because again of unemployment and also values, our value system. You'll find places where they'll say plagiarism checker, so that they can even check for you whether or not the essay is plagiarized. And
but are you, as some of the lecturers, actually using this particular software to
yes, we do.
To run by to find out if some of these students actually are plagiarizing their work, right, Dr. Tuse?
Yes, definitely. I think that's another market that has, boomed suddenly. The software, to check those who plagiarize in the academia. But I wanted maybe to shift a little bit the conversation by saying the whole issue basically is a cultural issue. It's a culture in which I can see maybe three components, three elements. First of all is the massification of, of education, I would say. Second, I would see the commodification of knowledge. And third, I would see the, what I want to call the fetishization of degrees. Yeah. So people want to have a degree, it makes them feel good, even when they don't feel they can defend it. I mean, they deserve it, really. So it is just having the degree because maybe it will make you feel good or look good in society and so on and so forth. But also the idea of commodification of knowledge. Knowledge, at least as we were growing up, knowledge was something that you had to earn. We're talking about a generation that is becoming lazy. And that laziness is not only in terms of work, it's because in the first place, they did not get the education that was deserved to be able to just, stand in public and defend what you know. So that idea which we're discussing before in terms of, becoming a millionaire overnight, which is partly, how our cultures have evolved, is something that we need to stigmatize. Coming back to what I was calling the massification of education, yes, I think we need to look also at the ratio that we have students per professor, how many students a professor can really follow, I remember I teach in this, smaller, institution, where we have, a small body of students, and professors have enough time to focus on each and every student. Yes, it is very critical. Some of my students that I have received in the past would come and you just feel they're out of place. And when you try to challenge them, one once told me, oh, I thought I could just come and blend in the way maybe we do at Nairobi University and so on and so forth. Simply to say, the moment you have an auditorium full packed with students and you don't have a personal contact, personal interaction with your students, then it becomes easy for the student to plagiarize or to cheat. But when I know my students properly, I know that they cannot beat either the plagiarism, software, because I have to get papers, say, in soft copy and in hard copy. The soft copy for the sake of, double checking, and the hard copy for the sake of, conversing with the student as we grade. So all of these could bring us back to saying, we used to value the teaching profession in the past. Teachers were valued. And maybe take this opportunity also to congratulate Peter Tabichi, who from Kenya, show that there is still value in education. But if our government, if our culture is leaving the teachers or the professors out by paying them nuts and by, just like, then students don't see the value of learning, and they believe that I can become richer without going through the, education system. So that's what I can, contribute to this.
So did we start on the wrong footing with the massification of, I like the way you put it, and the commodification and fetishization also of education in the country, where we want, and we know this is like, a pedestal that we have or we are standing on is a fetish, is a sort of an emblem that you do have. And then we have the mass production of university students, regardless of what the job market or the labor market is actually looking for. So if it's about business studies, we have a massive production of students coming out there. So it's becoming a factory, so to speak.
Yeah, just quickly before he takes the floor, I want to emphasize Dr. Njoki and I are involved in the preparation of this conference in October, and the theme is production of knowledge. We want to look at how Africa is capable of producing knowledge that can transform our societies. So I will leave it there because we may have some other chance to...
All right, okay, to tease out and talk about this conference as well. Let's hear from Dr. Hassan Kaneji.
I think quite a few things. I think where Dr. Njoki did mention about unemployment. And I would like to say some of the current graduates that we have out there in the streets, they're not only unemployed, they're completely unemployable. And those employers who are watching this show know that. And it's not just people with first degrees, people with second degrees and people with PhDs. They're completely unemployable because they're extremely mediocre. And it, yeah. Now, when we compare, whoever said that everybody should go to get a university degree, that was one of the biggest mistakes I think we ever made as a country, that people have a right. No, you do not. You have to earn a degree. Today, it's not just our young people. Our politicians, they're obsessed with degrees today because apparently it makes them feel good and feel important. So you find someone called, has a PhD or a doctor, but I can tell you this, my exit projects for my final year students at Wayne State, they are 10 times more robust than most PhDs right now in the libraries and the bookshelves. Number two, Dr. here spoke about the student to professor to student ratio. You cannot be lecturing to 200 students or 300 or 400 and actually expect to be able to monitor the performance of students. During my time at Wayne State, even without the name, I could actually tell which student is this or whose work is that. Because after 2 or 3 weeks, I kind of know their strengths. I know their writing style. So I can tell. When you're having hundreds of them, first of all, you don't even know 20. How are you going to monitor that? We also have the rapid expansion of universities without, number one, sufficient resources, faculty, or equipment. And so I've seen some satellites around the country. You find a satellite campus on top of a bar, and then there's a supermarket on this other end. Really, this is ridiculous, as in we should stop that. Now, what that has done to our country and to the economy is we got rid of technical institutes that actually train people with real skills. Look at most advanced countries, people who make your Mercedes-Benz, a lot of them don't have degrees.
Diplomas.
They have diplomas, but they have competent skills, the technical know-how to actually do it. We sacrificed competency and practical skills at the expense of having a degree, which is not only is it even theoretical, completely they have not earned it. And therefore, when it comes to the job market, and like most of the young people I've interviewed, and a lot of them with master's degrees, they're completely unemployed because they cannot even write a proper paragraph in the English language.
All right, and the question will be again, as far as you've mentioned the kiosks and the satellite campuses that have come up, we see in these developed countries, it is more strenuous even for a student to actually get admission at some of the technical colleges like MIT. That is, far and beyond what you could say is the Ivy Leagues as far as, mind is concerned. I'm not saying the Ivy Leagues are not any better, but getting actually your admission at the MIT is something else. It's very difficult. But here we tend to give our technical institute a much lower premium as opposed, to these are people who are thinkers. I don't know what will you comment on that very briefly.
Yeah, just very briefly.
Yes.
I think a lot of us who are sitting here, when you are undergraduate, you never said, after my undergraduate I want to do my master's, because it was never guaranteed. Yes, it was never guaranteed that you can actually go and do a master's because there were very, very few. In the poli-sci department I was at the University of Nairobi, I think there were like 5 or 4 master's students, at the time. It was not easy. Today, someone is first year and they're saying, after this, I want to do my master's and I do my PhDs. How is that so? Okay, that's fine. Now the thing is, again, you have technical colleges, in the United States, for instance, that are extremely good, but because they have certain standards. It's not because the moment we commercialized education in this country, that was actually a problem. And so if we move away from commercialization and actually start looking at competence, and especially when you have universities which are funded by taxpayers or at least partly funded, we should not be compromising standards at the expense of money.
Thank you. Dr. Mustafa?
Yeah, Debarl, it is true, and I agree with my panelists, with the fellow panelists, that there are many functionally illiterate graduates out there. And Dr. Kanenje is an employer at the Horn Institute, and he's always looking for researchers, writers, and he finds it sometimes very difficult to actually have good writers, researchers. Most times he has to put some of the researchers on a 3-month internship or 6-month probation, so that you actually observe if they can write and produce knowledge. But the mistake, of course, that and colleagues have spoken about this, the massification of education, commodification of education. We do not need to have millions of graduates. Germany and other more technical or other countries that actually produce and generate technical know-how have a lot of certificate and diplomas who work in this, whether it's in Bavaria Motor Works, Mercedes and others, and they are trained. There is what they call enterprise. You know, it's not internship as such, but enterprise apprenticeship. And they produce, we kind of belittle technical institutions and thought that having graduates is a fad. But now that is coming back here. We cannot even have enough plumbers in this country. I'm told even with the LAPSET project, the SGR, we don't have qualified welders. In fact, I'm told there are only about 9 qualified welders, that the Chinese had to bring then more welders from China to come and do welding in this country. And this is stuff that can be actually trained in a technical university. The universities in Kenya, but the point that I want to share with you is a contradiction here. If based on this new story by the, is it Daily Mirror or Daily Mirror? If there is a person here at River Road that can write a PhD thesis for a student in the United Kingdom, in a university, and that is passed, then it means that person in River Road here is more qualified or is very qualified to actually do research. And so we are missing something. Are we missing something here? That we have Kenyans who write very good papers, can do research, and they are operating from a dingy office in River Road. We should get that Kenyan to actually, maybe that is the Kenyan that we need at the Kenya Bureau of Statistics and many other government agencies that, that do research and the think tanks to come and help with that. So we need to tap into that. At the universities, at least the one that I've served before, and I was asked to supervise some students, we have a software called Turn It In at the University of Nairobi that we run each and every thesis, the first draft. And the Turn It In software package will actually tell you this paper is 80% plagiarized, or 10% plagiarized, or 5% plagiarized. And once you note that, then you take it back to the student, and it actually pinpoints where the plagiarism is taking place. So it's very easy to detect plagiarism, Debarl, and to fix it.
Ambassador, briefly, was a wind up on it.
Just a small note, particularly in what happens in some of these developed countries. I saw a news clip last week, I think, or the week before, where it was indicating something you referred to about these Ivy League schools in the US, that especially the celebrities could go and bribe some of these institutions so that they can admit their students there to acquire a degree from some of those prestigious institutions, because then it opens doors for them. Once you say, I have a degree from MIT or whatever, then your opportunities are unlimited. And you know, even in the UK, there was always this huge clamor for people to be either at Cambridge or Oxford or wherever it is. So that has always been there, and some people would be tempted to cheat. The question is, what percentage of people are cheating? When you find that mass becoming an epidemic, then you are in trouble. But let me say something here which I think has been stressed, the question of how you define education and academic. I think we have stressed so much on academic, and I think this is a point that is coming out. We have destroyed the whole idea of education. Because in fact, if you go to the fundamental of education, education was supposed to be wholesome, that you train people to be physically, mentally, and spiritually fit. But now we train zombies and who have certificates. Somebody has said, actually his name is Steve, not Steve Jobs, but one of those, to say the future of work, how we are going to expect people to behave. It is not going to be your degree, because we are now moving to IT. The summation is this, that the knowledge that the world has acquired from year 0 to 2015 is only about 20% of the knowledge that has been generated from 2015 to now. And we are going to an explosion. That explosion, the knowledge is going to require is not so much of the degree that you have, it's how you adapt and the kind of training we are giving. And that adaptation is to prepare people that can be, especially the place of work, that technology has changed how you train this person to cope with this new technology. But I don't think that's what we are doing. These are the engineers we talk about, Mustafa has referred to. But even if it comes to the social sciences, it is a question of a rapidly changing society and how you adapt to these circumstances. I think I see there is clamor to look at the curricula so that we can change to competence-based, and I think we should encourage that. But as we, at the same time do this, let us ask ourselves, where are we going? This is a passing phase, but we must now sit down and prepare for the future, which I'm not sure we are talking to a lot.
We're not talking to the future. Right, let's just get some reactions on Twitter, where we have still people commenting about the betting, and of course, this particular matter we're talking about. We have Bernard Kwech saying that I think we should see betting as a symptom of a larger unaddressed problem rather than the main problem. We will fail to address the issue if we continue in this direction, or in his direction. Even in self-employment, youths are facing a myriad of problems from agriculture to other sectors. We have David Ludogoli saying politicians have stolen and hidden much more, so are pyramid schemes and some churches not supporting betting. But let's find a ground to address this. We had Kenya charity sweepstakes them days, and no one complained since we had controls. But someone is saying also we should get to know the difference between betting and lottery. All right. Also, we have Victor, who's saying this is a problem with the leaders in our country. You can stand firm to fight betting stuff, but fail to fight thefts of taxpayers' money amongst yourselves. Terrible indeed. This is Victor. Also, O.T. Williams saying, I feel betting should be banned. It's just a waste of time and resources to many youths. Also, we have Abdallah Madambo saying the betting craze has caused more harm than good. Many youths, and now zombies who wake up early morning to go to betting shops and not loom for jobs, be it casual. It's time to ban betting. Abdallah Madambo thinks. Also, Bernard Kwech says, besides the commercialization of education, I also believe that laziness is influenced by what the students see at the end of their study. If they see the knowledge they gain will not be needed due to unemployment, they will just put minimum efforts to get that degree. Right? This is what Bernard Kwech is saying. Also, Kim is saying, don't confuse betting with lottery. That is Kim's there. Also, Bernard still saying, this is Bernard Kwech saying, Dr. Mustafa and team, you're talking something good about the weakness of emphasizing degrees. We need to study hard about the apprenticeships in Japan, Germany, and the UK. The models of apprenticeships are different from ours. We need to encourage industry to take it in hands. So we have Kalenjin Mau Mau. The panelists today are speaking so aloofly about betting, right? They are displaying eliticism because they are employed, but have no idea how gambling is a lifeline for the many unemployed youths. Yeah, so you're speaking from a pedestal as far as Kalenjin Mau Mau is concerned. And Daniel Mercy, I think, also has really taken special umbrage today with the discussion on betting. Let the panelists who are calling for betting to be banned know that at this stage it will be disastrous. Illegal betting mushrooms and the government has little capacity to curb this. Who else do I have? Andy Bates, I think he's talking about what we had there on the front page of the Daily Nation this morning. This is actually the splash today. You say you just posted a pic or pictures of him and Cuba, vice president. Why the vendetta? I think this is a personal vendetta. Of course, Ruto not appearing on the NIMS, launch yesterday, yet he was also on the public function yesterday. Those are your reactions on Twitter. But now there's also a twist to, of course, Kenyan security, where Kenya is positioning itself for a 2-year non-permanent membership of the council that is the United Nations Security Council, in a bid to contribute in setting the agenda for global peace and stability. And this is in 2021-2022. And we just want to hear from our panelists. This also was announced last year. And will it fly so far? What are they using as a gauge so far? And they say 44 peace operations across the world. Does that really stand us on a good state as far as actually getting this particular position? And I think Kenya is neck and neck with Djibouti. Do we stand a chance? Dr. Mustafa, briefly?
Yeah, Debarl, first of all, it's a good thing that Kenya is applying for a non-permanent seat at the Security Council, and I think it's something that we should support as Kenyans, support the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other government departments that are actually working towards this. It has clear advantages when Kenya actually serves at the Security Council in terms of, pushing its agenda, pushing the agenda for Africa, and Africa has been left behind for on many issues. Dr. Kanenja always says, if you're not at the table, you are on the menu. The challenges that we are seeing in Africa, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, are many, and Kenya would be that state or country at the Security Council that would push. It's a strong state compared, a much more stronger state in all respect compared to its competitor, that is Djibouti. However, Debarl, there are challenges. When a country is weak and applying for a membership at the UN Security Council, that could actually, its weakness could become its strength, because the other states that are going to vote, and 193 countries are going to vote for, to choose between Djibouti and Kenya. Many countries, strong countries, would prefer a weaker state, perhaps Djibouti, so that they can arm twist it when it comes to crucial votes at the UN Security Council. In Djibouti, you have the three powerful states with veto powers: China, France, and the United States of America. They have their bases there and critical interest in that respect across Africa, across Red Sea to the Gulf, and so that. It will be, well, Kenya has to work very hard to convince its friends around the world to actually support its candidature at the United Nations Security Council. The other thing is perhaps advisory here is the issue of liberation struggles, and many countries around particularly in Africa, the Middle East, Asia, have always anchored and supported each other at the United Nations based on supporting liberation movement credentials. Kenya needs to build up that front, improve on that front much more in order to gain support from other states that previously fought off colonialists.
Right. All right, let's hear from Dr. Njoki, briefly.
I just agree with Dr. Mustafa that Kenya doesn't have the best credentials when it comes to Pan-Africanism. Of course, after the ICC onslaught, we came out and kind of tried to reclaim Pan-Africanism. And so
we don't have, or we do have?
We don't have the best credentials. Okay. I'm not making any assertion. I'm just saying that. So I think, yes, this is very important. We've done a lot, especially on peacekeeping, and also involved around, especially the countries that are neighboring us in peace making. So it is an opportune, I think, moment for us to also to be at really the UN Security Council. But we need to also reclaim our Pan-African credentials, because we don't usually look that good at the continental level, because of course we didn't support the frontline states. We were apartheid, we were on the wrong side of apartheid again. So, and somehow this kind of discussions never come to the fore. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Dr. Hassan Khaneja.
I would like to perhaps just disagree a little bit with my colleague on one of the aspects. I think even on the ICC, I think President Kenyatta made one of the best speeches actually for the African Union, and was very Pan-Africanist. And I don't think our standing within Africa is actually bad as a country. Sometimes there's local noise domestically within the domestic politics that sometimes may make it look as if we're doing bad, but we're actually doing far much better. And I cannot think of the country that is best placed or well deserving of a UN Security Council non-permanent seat today than Kenya as we speak, given the dynamics. It's not just because of our history of peacekeeping, but also a history of conflict resolution, our history in advancing Africa's agenda on the world stage. And beyond the Africa's agenda, we are signatory to lots of international instruments. Actually, some developed countries are not even there yet. And so, it's in a bid for us to join the UN Security Council, not only will that allow us to a platform as a country, and of course we know some of our foreign partners are probably watching this show, but there are very few countries in this region right now, especially when it comes between us and Djibouti, that can be able to promote the agenda, not just of our current mission in Somalia to make sure that that international mission succeeds. That is something which Djibouti cannot actually be able to guarantee. But generally, the entire agenda, whether it's on human rights or environment, is going to be more robustly advanced and protected with the UN being on the Security Council as a non-permanent member.
All right. Dr. Tusey.
Maybe on the panel, I'm the only non-Kenyan, so I will speak in that capacity. I'm sure we've been following what is taking place, what has been happening in South Africa recently in terms of xenophobia. And I wanted actually to pick up from where Dr. Njoki left it, saying that Kenya maybe in history has been on the wrong side of apartheid. But from what has been said, I tend to concur with what Dr. Hassan had just mentioned. I believe Kenya really seems to represent, to some extent, the interest of the rest of Africa. Kenya has become really the hub where you have a multinational, cohabitation. I mean, people coming from across the continent, from all over the world, by the way, and they feel safer. They find Kenya home, away from home. And despite some of, the ill feelings that people can be having in terms of that, I see Kenya as one of the countries that could represent really at this stage the African interest. And I don't want to repeat what has already been said, but just to say, compared to Djibouti, which represent the basis, American base, French base, Chinese base, and you feel as if there is a competition really taking place there. So Djibouti could have that support from the Western powers or developed countries, but Kenya seems to represent much more the interests of Africa, and we've seen this even in the late diplomacy that the Kenyan president has developed within the region and even within Africa, in general. So I think Kenya has greater chances.
Debarl, let me.
Let's hear from Ambassador Erastus Mancha before you.
I need to correct
Erastus,
something.
No, Erastus.
Okay. I also need to correct something.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of correction here. Okay. You have to go international.
Okay. First of all, let's look at the Security Council, the composition. It's 15 members. Out of those 15, 3 are from Africa. And of course, you know that there are 5 that are veto within the Security Council. The decisions of the Security Council normally is by majority, but 9 is a critical number.
Yes.
And so unless there is a veto, 9, then it means that decision is 2/3, it can be effective. Now, the way the election goes for the non-permanent, and this is why Africa has been pushing for reforms, is that the regions normally try as much as possible to garner support from regions. From Africa, what Africa does to make sure that you can guarantee yourself the 3 is to then select the 3 countries and forward those names so that it becomes easier for the rest. Of course, the rest can still refuse a name that has come from Africa. But once you send 3 names, it becomes fait accompli. And so the struggle within Africa that Kenya is struggling with Djibouti, the winning or losing of it will be at the African Union level. And if Kenya gets it at the African Union, and of course then the politics of within the African Union. I mean, as a Kenyan, I think we undersell ourselves as, Dusset has just said. Kenya has a very prestigious position within the African Union in terms of its contribution, whether it's to the mission of the African Union, the location, and all the positive attributes. But of course, there is a sense of some kind of rotation that is inbuilt to ensure equity within the African Union. And I don't know, I have to check to see when Kenya served last in the Security Council and when Djibouti. That could be the issue at play, perhaps, when you come to the local last-minute voting. But of course, all other factors being equal.
Right.
So I think Kenya stands a good chance. Then, in that case, then of course, the rest of the world, when Japan wants that seat, they will come out, offer goodies to Africa, offer goodies to other countries, so that they are voted in. Because when you move in, you are quite influential. And so it's a position that is cherished, and many countries go out of their way to secure it.
All right. Other factors being equal or constant?
Yeah, both countries have...
Other factors being equal or constant? You mentioned other factors being equal.
Yeah, I mean, depending on when Kenya last served and Djibouti and all other factors, Kenya could easily get.
Yeah, right. But actually both countries, Kenya has served once and Djibouti has served once as a non-permanent member of the Security Council. And so if we go with that, you know, both, Kenya is the one that served last, or Djibouti? Last, Kenya served last. Yes. But Debarl, between Kenya and Djibouti, there is no better country to actually help push the African agenda, the agenda from the south, than Kenya. Djibouti will not be able to do that because it's a weak country. It's malleable. It is bound to be manipulated by China, with France, and the United States of America. And in that weakness, that's what I'm saying. That, and this is where I want to. I think Dr. Njoki said, you know, agreed. Kenya has less Pan-Africanist credential. It actually does. Kenya is now the only country where people can appear here at our airport, every country, and get without a visa. Not Djibouti. Djibouti, you have to apply actually for a visa. But what we're saying, and I agree with, we are constantly underselling ourselves. And by the way, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs budget is only, what, 2.5 billion? That needs to be increased so that Kenya can sell itself better.
Thank you.
Billions are being stolen in the dams, Debarl, and I hear, you know, 7 billion only here and there is pocket change. Let us take this money and help in building Kenya's image abroad.
Have we done the correction, please?
Quickly correct a misconception before my reputation is...
You didn't save your face.
My reputation is at stake here. I think first, I was just trying to say that in the past, and especially given the context of the Cold War, Kenya, you know, supported maybe places that we may not be very proud of right now. But for now, I think Kenya, I mean, you cannot compare Kenya and Djibouti, which is really like the Western base and the Western blue-eyed boy. And Kenya also, I think at this point in time, because of the politics of the ICC and what Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto became, we're the most Pan-Africanist, I would say, as Kenya has ever been since 1963, and probably the best to be part of the UN Security Council.
All right, and maybe lastly, does also us being involved in the 44 peace operations across the continent makes us also stand on a good state to be, or to actually garner this particular position?
For sure.
It does?
Yes.
It does. Fantastic. Right, let's see what is happening on the international front. Dr. Tuse, you have a phone call and you're walking away from the set. Oh, it's someone will assist you because you're mic'd. Right, we want to see what is happening on the international front. Of course, and now this development, I think by March 29th, they were supposed to be out. There was an extension. Now we have another extension. It's getting murkier and murkier, and people are getting agitated. Briefly.
Okay, very, very briefly. I like the fact that we're talking about the UK, United Kingdom, right? And the EU, European Union. So in both appellations, we do have the Union. And as you're saying, the empire is naked. I was laughing because I say to myself, how much longer will the UK Union hold if, you know, the UK has to go on a Brexit without deal? And we should remember that these things has been going on for the last 3 years. The referendum took place, I think, 3 years ago. And to this day, there hasn't been any agreement, you know, in terms of what kind of deal to allow Brexit. Which is reminding, basically, you know, really the basics of international politics, where countries belong to unions to advance their own self-interest. What the Irish Prime Minister was saying in France was simply to remind that you know, we have strong bilateral relations with France, with Germany. We don't see what Brexit would benefit us. And the effect of the Brexit actually are already being felt in France. I don't know if you follow this, but there is a surge in, you know, housing, you know, prices, given that many, you know, foreign, you know, workers in London are already moving to Paris, or some banks that have, you know, shifted their business to Paris. And so people are beginning to feel that the Brexit will never be, say, in the best interest of the UK. And if Theresa May or, say, you know, decide to go that way without a deal, then the consequences, economic, may be far greater than, you know, what can be imagined at this point. So just briefly, that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. Let's hear from Ambassador Rasas Mwanja.
Perhaps it's, somebody has summarized that Theresa May's move now may be too little too late, because what she has now done is to abandon the hardliners and move to talk to Corbyn. The only unfortunate thing is that in the public eye, the UK is not prepared for Corbyn's prime ministership, and perhaps that's why people still hang on now. But given the fact that there are some red lines that now Britain must address, like May 23rd, when they have to elect members of the European Parliament, they have to reach a consensus. I see the consensus two ways. One is a referendum. That's the only way that you can now talk about, because she's still wearing her blinkers, saying, okay, we must deliver what people voted for. If the mandate is what people voted for, and given that this was promoted on false premises, where you demonize the European Union without knowing how much you are integrated, and now the hens are come back to roost for them to realize it's going to hurt the economy. UK is going to be isolated, and so they want to work their way back, but they don't know how to do it. And so their politics has been exposed against that naked king, and you can see the hands, the clothes are with the European Union. So it's a European Union that we have to dress them up now. That's how vulnerable European Union has come.
But we can see also the face, where he's headed to the direction of the legs as well. The butt is on the front, the face is behind. I don't know what you can decipher from this.
Debarl, just to add on Ambassador's point, Britain wants to have its cake and eat it. And it's really unfair, and that's why, and I can imagine Brussels, the position that Brussels is at, where, you know, they feel like, you know, we're inevitable, we have to be here. And so, and there are so many urgent things that need to be done. There's a May 23rd elections. The EU elections are on May 23rd. So is Britain going to be part of these elections now that it's still not out completely? Again, Brussels is not obliged to say yes, even if Theresa May goes there along with Jeremy Corbyn. So it's going to be more complicated. And if maybe they keep buying time, there's also time there could be time then for a referendum, which Theresa May doesn't want.
He wants the voice of the people.
Exactly.
Right, let's hear from...
No empire lasts forever. And, you know, that's the history of mankind. And when you're powerful, it's important to deal justly with others. There are many good things that the British have brought, English, the language, administration, but there are also so many nasty things that the British, when it was an empire, brought. The Balfour Declaration, the secret Sykes-Picot Agreement that became the trouble of the borders. Israeli-Palestinian problem was manufactured in London. The challenges that we see in quite a number of Kurdistan, the Kurds in Africa, the arbitrary borders that are there. I hope Britain, and we pray that Britain survives this trouble. Chances are that if it doesn't, then Scotland will go, and Northern Ireland will also go.
All right. Okay. Hassan Kalenja, briefly.
I think just echoing the sentiments of Dr. Njoki, you know, it's akin to voting to get rid of the driver because you believe he or she is driving so slow, only to realize none of you actually has a driver's license and can drive. So you cannot really have your cake and eat it too. But I feel terrible for Theresa May because there's no easy way out for Britain right now. I don't see the Europeans flinching on this, and there are some hardliners in the UK that are just going to stick to the guns. So it's a little bit sad.
Right, thank you. And of course, Dr. Mustafa was alluding to the fact that no empire stays forever, right? You can tell that to Bouteflika. After 30 years now, he's actually tendered his resignation. Right. And still, the writing is on the wall. Maybe what we've seen in Algeria as far as the voice of the people is concerned will be happening in Sudan as well. We are eagerly also keeping our eyes peeled on that to see what will be happening on that front also, and keeping out our ears as well. Just as we are winding up, just to read one or two tweets before we wind up. We have Arthur Mark saying that the weaker countries are being used as shield by other superior countries by the world of economy. Also, referendum, hashtag power of handshake. He's saying, Dr. Mustafa, let's forget the parents are the cause of the shenanigans. The technical education is not for their class and create idle youth Kenyans or generation Kenyans waiting for a blue-collar job. Change the mindset. Economic development will be touchable in the name of self-sustainability. Also, your brother Brain saying, Matangi should not even think about it. The best economies have gamblers. This is what he thinks. We have Jasper Mogire saying, the value of hard work was lost when politicians made hustling a national pastime. When our money is carried in sacks, when money meant for dams to do irrigation, etc. buys wines and towels, you've gambled our future away, not now taking them off and keeping us alive away. And it's really nicked. Of course, is really miffed by that. Also, Danny Bera is saying this is not only aiding and abetting crime and supporting the commission of a criminal act, it is morally wrong. It is an affront to the integrity of the academic process. Yes, it's a foreign-sourced income, but it's ethically wrong. We have also Samburu saying the government is part of the problem. What is the online jobs? Ajira program, most of it is the essay writing, research papers, and others. Also, Dida Lumanyika says we need to take mental health seriously. If we can ban shisha, we can ban betting. The health implications are the same in both cases. And lastly, we have Epale Xavier Okilipa saying betting has become a great threat to both social and economic independence. And as criminologist, my senior Faulu Munene will tell you, betting is a crime which has infiltrated the country, affecting the young people. Lots of your reactions there. I cannot be able to read all of them. But I want to thank our panelists this morning for that engaging discussion that we've had on a raft of issues as well, and also you getting to have a show with me and your contribution on social media. We really do appreciate. Living This is up next. Thank you.